Good evening. It's a very sad night for Ireland. I suppose I'm deeply saddened because on a personal level, the McCann family in Strokestown in County Roscommon, whom I first came to know following the eviction on the 11th of December 2018, have become my personal friends, Anthony, Geraldine and David. And in a very, very sad day for Ireland, in the middle of lockdown, the McCanns were arrested this morning in two separate arrests. They were taken to the Garda station in Castlereagh, and from there they were taken to Dublin to a High Court hearing. They have been given until 10 o'clock tonight to get out of their home in Strokestown, from where they had been evicted on the 11th of December 2018. The Gardaí have extended that now until 11:30. I'm joined tonight by Donal Hanley from Strokestown. Donal spoke with the family when they returned from Dublin. By Colm Granahan from the Anti-Corruption Task Force, and I spoke to Colm in a live update this afternoon at around 4:20, and he took us through today's proceedings. And finally, I'm joined by Margaret Hanrahan from County Tipperary, and I spoke to Margaret on Wednesday night on Centre Ground. She is the lady who rode a number of horses all the way from Tipperary to Leinster House to highlight her plight and her attempts and efforts to hold on to her home in her battle with ACC Bank. As I say, it's a very, very sad day for Ireland in the middle of lockdown. I'm going to go first to Donal. Donal, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Anna.
Donal?
I was going to say, yeah, can you hear me there, Anna?
Yes, Donal, I can hear you perfectly. Now, Donal, you and I became very good friends during the eviction. Following the eviction in December 2018, when the McCann family nominated you as their spokesperson. And I know that you're under time constraints and you may not be able to stay with us throughout the live stream tonight, but you spoke to the McCanns when they returned. Can you just tell us what happened this evening?
The return this evening at about 9:30, they just got back to say they were traumatised in a state of shock. I don't think they could actually believe what had happened to them all day and what was still happening. You know, they realised the time it was, all the stuff they had there, that they had to be out by 10 o'clock. They really didn't know whether they were coming or going. And you said it at the start there that, you know, you're ashamed to be Irish this evening. Well, I can echo that, Anna, because so am I. You know, to throw a family out on the side of the road at any time is an absolute disgrace. But to do it on the second day of this lockdown, when these new laws that were brought in, people aren't supposed to travel 5 kilometres from their house. You're supposed to have no visitors in your house. You're supposed to be isolating. And this ruling was handed down from Dublin today. You know, all I can say is shame on the guards, shame on the justice system, shame on our government, shame on the media, you know, shame on the whole lot of them. This is an absolute disgrace. And I have to say I'm heartbroken for the McCann family tonight.
I know, Donal, that you go in every single night to Cayley, as you and I are country people, Donal. We call it a Cayley into each other's houses, and you would have gone in a Cayley into the McCanns at night time. And I know that you have a very, very close bond with the oldest of the McCann family, David. Just for people who don't know about David, tell us a little bit about him.
David is a man in his 60s now. He wouldn't be in great health. He's one of the kindest, most gentle men that I've ever met in all my life, and I know David since I must know David 30 years, or I know him a lot longer. I've travelled the length and breadth of the country with him to football matches. His passion is football. That's what he lives for. And he's a vulnerable person. David is asthmatic and he has a bad chest, and he always has to have an inhaler with him, and he has really minded himself during this lockdown because he has been afraid. And
we're losing coverage here. Yes.
Yeah, we're back with you
we
there,
are going
Anna.
out live. Yeah, we're grand. It's just that we're living in rural Ireland. The internet is not the best, so people will be patient with us. And I know where you are. The internet is not the best. So you're just telling us there that David is in poor health and he always carries his inhaler. Now, the other thing is that David, following when David and his sister Geraldine returned to their home a few days after the eviction, a week after the eviction, he never actually slept in his bed since. Is that correct?
Correct. He was afraid, so he sat on a chair beside the stove, and there was a picture of him taken there. It ended up on one of the papers, and I think you shared it today. And that's where David has been sleeping. It's a miracle that he's as good as he is, because I spent a couple of nights sitting in another armchair with him, and you would be absolutely physically and mentally drained after it. But he's there since, and you can see it's taken his toll on him. But he has this fear, and his fear was realised again this morning. He was taken from his house again.
It's trauma. If you can recall, Donal, you and I and a number of men actually sat up all night that first night that the McCanns returned to their home. I think we might have got an hour or two sleep in the middle of the night. David was there sitting at the chair. I did a live the following morning, an update from the home. And as you say, this morning when he was arrested by the Gardaí and taken away in a squad car, a man in his 60s, very, very vulnerable, taken to a Garda station, brought to Dublin. It must be hugely, hugely traumatising for him. And as you say, they don't really know whether they're coming or going. So what you're telling me is that they arrived back at what time to the house tonight?
Approximately 9:30, I'd say they got here at.
About 9:30. So yeah. They had until 10 o'clock to gather their belongings.
That's right, yeah.
When they were dropped off by the Gardaí, do you mind me asking you? This is the other thing that happened today, is that their phones were taken from them. So we had no way of making contact with them. Oh. So the media, they crafted the story so well through the media. We were actually learning from mainstream media what was actually happening to them. And we learned this evening that they were coming back in a squad car. Did the guards maintain a presence after they dropped them back at the house? Do you know? Did they tell you?
I'm not sure about maintaining a presence, but I do know there was a phone call from the guards at 10 o'clock to the McCanns to see what their next move was going to be.
Okay, and so that's the most recent update that we have on them, and it's now 11:30. It's Friday the 23rd of October, and that is, we don't actually know what's happening to them. We know that Judge Reynolds gave an order that they were to be out of the house by 10 o'clock tonight. They were dropped off by the Gardaí.
All I do know, Anna, is the McCanns have rang various people and rang various hotels to see if there was anywhere they could stay tonight, and nobody is willing to let them in because of the COVID restrictions. People are afraid that if they have other people in their house, that the guards are going to come knocking on their door. Hotels, as far as I'm aware, they're not taking anybody in at the minute.
That's right.
So, I mean, I don't know how this judge in Dublin could, she's after ignoring all these government legislation that's after coming in the last 24 hours. Is COVID-19 not happening in her courtroom or in her life? To say I'm bamboozled by what has happened is an understatement. Absolute understatement.
Okay, well, Donal, thank you so much for that update. I suppose this is a breaking news story. If you have just joined us, we're reporting live on the arrest earlier today of the McCann family, Geraldine, David and Anthony. 2 separate arrests taken to Castlereagh Garda Station and then to the High Court for a hearing. And as you've just heard Donal saying, they were dropped back off at the house tonight at 9:30, told to gather their belongings. And they had until 10 o'clock to get out. And as Donal has just said, they have been ringing around to try and find out where they can stay tonight. And it's now 11:30. We don't really know where they are or where they're going to stay. So thank you, Donal, for that. And
Anna, sorry, yes? Anna, could I just say one more thing here, please?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen things wrote and people are on about, that there's money owed here and there's money borrowed here and money not paid back. And, our media are great to report this, What they're not great at reporting is what happened to the McGanns here on the 11th of December 2018 and the brutal treatment they got that day, And we have a country here, we bailed out all the banks, The people of Ireland bailed out the banks here at the highest price paid in Europe. None of our bankers were put to jail, but yet our government, our justice system and our guards are willing to lock up elderly people here tonight. And I just want to reiterate, Anna, it's an absolute disgrace what's happening to them. And I'd like to just thank you for the opportunity for letting me talk here tonight.
Thank you, Donal. And as I say, the McGann family nominated you, Donal, as their spokesperson in the aftermath of the eviction. I'd like now to bring in Colm Granahan from the Anti-Corruption Task Force, and I spoke earlier to Colm at around 4:20, and Colm gave us an update of what had been happening in the days leading into this and indeed today. Thanks very much, Colm, for joining us again.
Thanks, Anna, and hello to everyone out there. Yeah.
Now, just before we begin, Colm had an accident this morning. He was so upset on hearing the news of the arrest that he was working on his farm, and I suppose he was in a state of shock. He did have a little accident. You can see his face injured and so on, and that is the reason for that. So, Colm, I suppose a number of people have joined us now tonight on this live stream. They haven't seen the earlier video. I suppose, could you bring us quickly through the lead-in to today and what happened today? So if we could begin on Wednesday, just very quickly tell us what happened on Wednesday, yourself and Anthony, where you went.
Yeah, well, on Wednesday, we decided before Wednesday that we were going to make an application to the courts for a copy of the repossession order and the execution order, because the media, the guards, the bank, everyone seems to have a copy of that order, except the man whose home it is. So we tried every agency of the state, writing to them. In some cases, we wrote to them on 3 occasions and nothing happening. So there was no answer back, only just acknowledged receipt of your letter, date or whatever. And we decided that this is going on too long, that we need to go to the court and get an order from the judge compelling them to supply Anthony with the documents required. We went to Roscommon Courthouse We met the registrar there, which she was very helpful, I have to say. She took the application, stamped it, gave it back to us, and then she says, I'm not sure whether this should be in the district court or the circuit court, but she says, I'll make you a phone call just to save time. If it needs to go to the circuit court, well, I'll tell you. So she went off and she phoned a certain individual and came back and says, that case is closed. The court won't accept any applications. Well, both myself and Anthony said to her that you have accepted the application. We have the stamped copy here, and that we'll let the judge decide on Friday morning whether that application goes through or not. So that was it. We left the place, and as you know, from there on, this morning, Anthony was on his way to court with Kevin Taylor when they were stopped.
Now, can I hold? Can I?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry for interrupting you there. Now, on the earlier live stream, you said that yourself and Anthony then went down to the Garda station. You had business there,
Yes.
and that there was no warrant for his arrest or anything like that. If there had been a warrant, they could have executed it there and then.
Exactly. We went in and identified, both of us had to identify ourselves, and Anthony had a prepared statement and handed it in to the guard or the sergeant behind the desk. The sergeant took it, went upstairs, he came back down in about 7 minutes and said that that case is closed. There's no investigation.
Okay. So then, fast forward then to this morning. Anthony
this morning
was being
then
driven.
was being driven by Kevin Taylor to appear at the court, and on the way into court there was a checkpoint. There was an inspector at the checkpoint that told him there was a warrant out for his arrest. He didn't have the warrant with him, but anyways, he went off with them. And Kevin, being the gentleman that he is, rather than have the siblings at home worrying where Anthony was, Kevin turned around and went down to the house to tell them what had happened to Anthony. And when he got to the house, Geraldine and David had been arrested, and the house was left unoccupied and opened. And
Now,
they took them. Well, this is very important, Anna. They took them to Cashlery Garda station, where they shouldn't have been. They were there for a few hours before they were brought to the High Court. Now, if there was a High Court warrant out, the law states that they must be brought directly to the High Court. They were brought to Cashlery Garda station for a few hours before they were brought, which is an unlawful arrest. They should have been brought straight to the High Court. So,
and at some stage, their phones were taken from them. That is reported in the Irish Times. Their phones were taken from them because it was mentioned in court that there were people back at the house and they were accusing the McCanns of this, and it came out in court that their phones had been taken from them when they were arrested, so they couldn't possibly have been in contact with anybody to say what had happened. So
well that's typical.
Pardon?
That's typical of the ways that they operate. They get that out on the paper, and with the vehicles that were seen outside the house or allegedly seen outside the house, you see what they're trying to do is paint a picture for the judge so that the judge listens to what they say. That's always the case. Anyone that's listening in knows that whatever a guard or the DPP says in court, you don't need proof. All you need to do is say.
We have to be very, very careful, Colin, here what we say about the guards, the judicial system, or whatever, because I just know that, and I'm not at liberty to speak about it, but I just know that there are moves afoot to silence people that are trying to get the truth out. So we have to be extremely careful to people that are. No, don't apologise, Colin. No,
any guard or any judge or anything, I wouldn't dream about doing that.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest about it, we just have to be so extremely unbelievably careful, because this is a very, very powerful, social media is a very, very powerful way of getting our message out, our side of the story out. We saw that during the eviction, that it possibly would never have made mainstream media, were it not for the fact that on social media we managed to get the videos out, and they went viral and they went around the world, and it created a massive, massive outcry. And we were able to get the McCann's family side of the story out. But today, you know, it was difficult. We couldn't make contact with them. Colin, I'll bring you. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. I'll bring you back in a moment, Colin. I just wanted to bring in Margaret Hanrahan, who has been waiting patiently. Good evening, Margaret, or good night.
Good evening, Anna, and good evening to the boys. And that was a lovely what they told us. But my empathy.
Margaret, if I can just introduce you to people. I think, Margaret, if you just move to the left, because you're off the screen, we can't actually see you.
Yeah, the left.
So if you just move to your left, yes, we can see you now better.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you can just look into your camera to your left.
Yeah.
To your left. Maybe
yeah.
If you look the other way, Margaret. No, the other way, Margaret. If you just turn the other way, Margaret. Yes. There's cameras there. Yes. No, the other way, Margaret.
Yeah. Am I okay?
The other
no,
left.
You're not, Margaret. You're completely off screen. There you are now, more or less.
Yeah.
No. Move left, Margaret.
Left. Yeah. I'm lifting the camera across.
No. You move. Don't move the camera. You move.
Okay.
Now,
right.
I think that we'll bring it back on if Stephen can just split the screen between myself and Margaret. Yes, that is a little bit better. Could you move your chair a little bit to the left, Margaret?
Jesus. Right there. If I could move the camera.
No, if you could move your chair, move yourself left.
Left.
Yes, that's it. Oh,
are we okay now?
You were almost there. A minute ago, you were. No, Margaret.
No.
You're going the wrong direction altogether.
Okay.
It's a wonder, Margaret, when you rode the horse to Dublin, that you didn't end up in Kerry.
Okay, wait till I see what I can do here.
No, Margaret, you're gone off screen completely. You're gone off screen completely.
Now.
You're gone completely.
Wait now.
Margaret, would you do me a favour? Would you just leave the device on where it is? Are you sitting on a chair?
Yes.
Just move the chair ever so slightly. Oh gosh, you're gone altogether now.
Yeah, I can see myself now.
That's possibly a little. Now, could you come a little bit closer? Come straight.
Yeah.
Come straight forward. Come forward a little.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, I suppose.
Jeez, I'm gone now here.
You're gone.
Okay.
We can sort of see, you know, I wonder, the thing is, I wonder, is the sound picking you up? I wonder, is Stephen picking you up?
I hear the sound fine.
I wonder, is Stephen, can Stephen hear you?
Can he?
Yeah, that's fine, Anna. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is she fine now?
Yeah, she's fine. Yeah, we can hear her.
Yes. To those of you who have just joined us, it's a live stream. The McCann family, who were evicted in December 2018, returned to their home a week after the eviction, and today they were arrested in 2 separate arrests and taken to Castlereagh Garda station, and then from there to a High Court sitting in Dublin. With they appeared before Judge Leonie Reynolds, and she directed that the Gardaí take them back to their home and they had until 10 o'clock tonight to vacate their home with their belongings. They arrived back at the house at approximately 9:30. The latest update we had a little while ago from Donal, who spoke to them before 10 o'clock. They were very distressed, distraught. They were frantically trying to find some place to stay. With COVID restrictions, people weren't willing to take them in, and there's no hotels open to take them. So I'm speaking now to Margaret Hanrahan, and those of you who saw Centre Ground on Wednesday night will remember that Margaret is the lady that had difficulties with ACC Bank. She rode to Dublin on a horse, and just for this was very controversial afterwards in the posts and the comments. There were 3 horses involved. It took a number of days, so it wasn't just going one day to Dublin on a horse, just to clarify that. And that was to highlight her battle with ACC Bank. So, Margaret, you've been down this road battling with the banks. What are your feelings tonight about what's happening to the McCanns?
What could your feelings be only of sadness, of sadness, of sadness for 3 vulnerable people to be like a windy night, it's wet and windy down here. How could you feel anything only just empathy, sympathy, and try and resolve this issue as quick as we can? It reminds me nothing only Jesus and Mary when they had nowhere to go. And is that what they're left with tonight, a stable? Because that's all that's open to them under the COVID-19. Please, please, God, will we all try and put our heads together and try and resolve this problem? It won't resolve itself. Nobody will resolve it unless we put our heads together. Stop criticising whether we owe the money, we don't owe the money. How would you put a monkey out tonight? You wouldn't put a bad dog out tonight, let alone 3 vulnerable people and a man that's on an inhaler. Like the Irish are great for divide and conquer. This is not about that. Tonight is about empathy, sympathy. What can we do for that vulnerable woman? Let the women of Ireland come out and stand with her. She's not asking for anything. She's just asking to be homed, and she doesn't know what's going on. None of them know what went on today and won't know. But tonight is not about, this conversation tonight to me is not about what went on today. It's about what can we do about them tonight? What can we do for those people tomorrow? And how can we resolve the problem? This problem is going on far too long for vulnerable people. The court won't fix it. None of us will fix it. We must put our heads together and try and resolve this situation with empathy, sympathy, and not criticism. Forget the criticism. Criticism resolves nothing. Whether they owe the money, up the money, down the money, it's not what, that won't put a bed under them tonight. And we stop criticising them. Please put our heads together tonight. There's one message I want to give to everyone tonight is, I was very, very close to that situation with no place to go. And my heart is going out to those people, and I don't know the people, but I can empathise with them, or I can sympathise with them. And to think there's not a hotel, nor a home, nor a house that can be given to them. Surely to God, somebody is going to overstep COVID and say, open the doors to them. If it goes to it, I'll open my doors to them, and that's all I can offer, but I will open my doors to them. I wouldn't let a monkey out tonight, let alone 3 vulnerable people. And I'm going to say to the Roscommon people, you were brilliant all along. Be brilliant tonight. Show you the sign of your faith. Show your sign of your compassion. Show the sign of your empathy. Let's all put together. If they have to come to Tipperary, I'll be the first to open my door, regardless of what it is. I'm not taking anyone's side. But I wouldn't, as I said tonight, put a monkey out tonight, and it was especially down here. The wind and the rain is something dreadful.
Margaret, for people who didn't see the live stream the other night, you described what happened when the receivers moved in on your property. Tell us a little bit about that. Oh,
you know, I could cry tonight. I am so upset over, I can identify everything that goes on above in Roscommon, even though I'm not there. My heart goes out to them. But I mean, these people came in, they just ploughed up my farm, and their whole idea was to get me out of this house. I lived alone, I was 55. So I was very close to these people's age. I'm 66 now, and my heart is bleeding for these people, what I couldn't do for them, and I will do for something for them. But nobody out there can understand what I went through. Nobody, only one that's been through it, can understand it. So I'm asking the people, instead of criticising us, whether we borrow the money or not, stop criticising us. I have been through hell and high water. I said the other night, death would be easy for me because I'd be gone. Suicide would have been easier because I'd have died from suicide. But if I died from the COVID isn't going to kill anyone in this country. The banks are going to kill us. They are going to the courts, are going to kill us. We're not able for it. So when the receiver came in here, imagine you talking about December in 2018. They came in to me in December 2010. Why did they wait for Christmas week to do all that? Is it because all the guns are down? We have to get a solicitor. We don't be able to get this one, get that one to help us. But anyway, thanks be to God, the help of the people and the help of God and the help of the people of Dublin. I'm after getting through it. So far, so good. But I'm prepared to help out the McCanns in any way I can, in negotiation, reconciliation, anything. But no words in any dictionary will describe what it is like to let a receiver or a bailiff or anyone of that description come into your house. You're nothing. You're a number on a piece of paper. You're not a human being. You're nothing. You're scum. And they treat you like, and I often describe it as shit on their, excuse the expression, and they will kick you around as long as you want to be kicked. And we don't deserve that. Whatever we did, we don't deserve that. Justice is justice, but we don't deserve to be treated like that. Not at their age and not at my age.
And would you think, Margaret, that the Strokestown eviction was quite unique in that they managed to carry it out, but the McCann family managed to get back into their home? Would you think that, like, the house is not, I'm sure they have spent 3 or 4 times the value of that house. It's a house that was built in the 1950s that's in need of updating. And I just know that the bank probably has spent 3 or 4 times the value of that house in legal fees to get them out. Do you think that it's more symbolic than anything else?
Oh, this is a very warning, and I said it at the last interview that you had with me. This is a warning to anybody that's in default on their mortgage. This is just to highlight how far they'll go, and they will go. Don't be under any illusion. And this is to make an example, and they're not interested whether you're vulnerable, young or old. But that makes no difference. It doesn't make any difference whether you're a woman or a man or a child or an invalid or anyone with any disability. All you are on paper is a number. And I would plead to people to just check their mortgages, check everything, because this is only the beginning of a very, very long road. But going back to the real issue that we're here tonight is, how can we help those people? How can we put a bed under them tonight? Even if they were in the bed in their house for the last 2 years, they were there in dread. You said the man sat on the chair. What life did he have for the last 2 years? Sure, jail would have been, if he had a cell in the jail, he'd have got a better, he'd been fed, he'd been kept warm. He wouldn't be living that kind of a way. Sure, that was nothing. That was no way to live for a man of his years, with his disability, with his hair beside him. That was scandalous, and we should never have let it happen.
Unfortunately, it has. Donal, if I could bring you back in, and I know that you have a phone there, and I'm just wondering if you have any update for us at all, or any news.
No, I've heard nothing since, Anna, now, and
yes.
and I've just been listening to Colm and Margaret there and yourself. So not since I spoke to you last. No, so I don't know what's happening at the minute.
Yeah. So for anybody who has just joined us, we're live. The McCann family, who were evicted in December 2018, were arrested this morning in 2 separate arrests. They were taken to Castlereagh Garda station. Their phones were taken off them. Some hours later, then they were taken to High Court sitting. They appeared before Judge Leonie Reynolds. She directed the Gardaí to take them back home to Roscommon, and they were to gather up their belongings and be out of the house by 10 o'clock. And they were dropped off by the Gardaí at the house at 9:30. And Donal is the only person we know of who has spoken to them. They were very, very distraught, very distressed, and we don't actually know of as yet what has actually happened. It's now 5:12. It's Friday, the 23rd of October, and that's the latest update. I suppose maybe we'll kind of bring things to a conclusion now. Maybe, Donal, I go to each of you for a final word. So, Donal, maybe a final word from you.
Well, I just like to agree with everything that everybody has said already, but I just like people. I'd like the people out there. I'd like the guards. I'd like the people in the banks. I'd like these people in the courts that are judges, barristers, solicitors, and I'd like the media to think of the human cost that's involved here. You know, because that's not mentioned half enough. Margaret hit on it there. The human cost to this family and to thousands of other families around the country. You know. And thanks, Anna.
And thank you, Donal. And as I said earlier, Donal, very, very close to the McCann family, they nominated you as their spokesperson to deal and handle the media in the aftermath of the eviction. Colin, just a final word from you, Colin. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, my thoughts are I'd be well aware of what Margaret and Donal has said about the situations and the banks and the human costs and anything like that. It's all about finance. It's all about profits for the banks, and nothing else matters. And it doesn't matter what you have to do to get them, but they have to have their monies for their shareholders. And you know, this time of year or any time of year, to put a family out of their dwelling, it's against the Constitution for whatever difference it makes to a guard or a judge. They are what they are, but you know, for all this there is a price to be paid, and that's you know where I leave it. I have seen suicides. I have spoken with people in arrears, and I know personally from the paperwork in this case that there is no lawful order, either repossession or execution. And I state again, this is why we made the application to the court, and this is why Anthony McCann was arrested this morning before he got to court.
Well, this is what you believe.
No, this is what I believe. I know we made the application. I know it was accepted, and I know that they didn't want him to stand up in court and ask for a repossession order or an execution order, because everyone in the public is led to believe that one exists. Now, if it exists, neither Anthony McCann, Geraldine McCann, or David McCann, or myself hasn't seen it. And we have asked every arm of the state to produce it. And the closest that it came was in the High Court one day when the judge said, and as I said earlier, I have it all recorded, the judge says, I'm happy that an order exists. That's as close as we got to seeing any of the orders. So I'm just putting it out for the public out there, for anyone that's in doubt about anything. There is no breaking of the law by any of the McCanns. They have never been in court or never harmed a feather on anyone or anything. And the fact of the matter is, do it lawful. If there is an order, and I'm putting it out there tonight to the people that's listening, if there is an order, produce it and let it take its course then. But that's all the McCanns are asking for, is a copy of that order, the repossession order and the execution order, and forget about the media baloney in the real media, whatever you want to call it out there.
Okay.
Because they are just taking what's said in the court and they put their own spin on it, but it still has to be, the contents has to be what the judge said, however they want to refer it.
Okay,
but
and I suppose,
Colin,
I suppose I will qualify what you have said there by saying that you were voicing your opinion and you're entitled to that opinion, and it's a valid opinion. And that covers us, because, as I said earlier, we have to be so incredibly, extremely careful that we operate within the law on this platform, on social media, because we want to be able to keep going. Because we don't want any. And thank you, Colin. I have to say that I interviewed you a couple of weeks ago, and I've interviewed you today, And I have to say that it is a pleasure, actually, and I feel so easy with you when I'm interviewing you, because I know that you will always operate and respect that those boundaries that we have. You know, we would love to be able to say an awful lot more, and there is an awful lot more to be said, but we can't say it. So thank you so much, Colin, and to the Anti-Corruption Task Force. And if I could send a special shout out to Joe Ducey. Joe, I was never talking to Joe in my life. I've been following him on social media, following his story and everything like that. And I had a conversation with Joe today, and I know that he's watching in tonight. And I would just like to say a special hello to Joe. And also, I would like to send out a special word to retired Garda Kevin Taylor. And I have become a good friend of Kevin's. I never knew the man until the eviction. And he was the retired Garda who was injured that day during the eviction. And he was driving Anthony McCann this morning to Castlereagh. And he is an outstanding citizen, is what I would say. So thank you so much, Colin, for that. And Margaret, I'm going to leave the final word with you.
Well, my final word is that to have empathy and sympathy and stop criticising anybody. And if we could get it with all the brains in the country, we should be able to get a mediator to mediate with the McCanns and the bank. Totally independent person that stands for the truth and see what is really. But we all stand back and let the hair sit. And in the meantime, that we find accommodation for those people, and that they're not vulnerable and left out like Jesus and Mary was Christmas week. We owe them that. And then to let somebody of a caliber that's out there, that's prepared to come in and negotiate. Everything is resolvable. Every opportunity is wars going on everywhere. But somewhere along the line, someone comes in and is able to resolve it. Now is the time for us to put our brain power together and let's have to resolve this issue. These people will be dead before any issue will be resolved. What good will that be?
Okay. Thank you so much for Margaret. Again,
thank you.
A very, very special thanks to Donal, Colin and Margaret for joining me this evening on this live stream. A very special thanks to Stephen Kerr of the Irish Inquiry. Without this platform which he has created, we would not be able to get this out. The voice of the McGanns, the voice of the ordinary people of Ireland. We saw today how the state and the mainstream media worked together to create their narrative. And this is alternative media, it's an alternative platform, and we're able to, as we did the last time, get out the McGann's story. To those of you who have been watching, I want to thank you so much. The power of social media really is over to you. If you just sit and watch this and do nothing about it, you know, it has been a waste of an hour. I think this is a defining moment in Irish history. A family were given basically a half an hour to gather up their belongings tonight and leave their home. David McCann was born in that house many years ago, he's well over 60 years. It's his home, he's in poor health, and he now finds himself on the side of the road, possibly tonight, with no place to go, along with Geraldine and with Anthony. And as Donal said, you know, we're in the middle of a lockdown with very, very severe restrictions of movement and going in and out of other people's homes. And where exactly did Judge Leonie Reynolds expect that family to go at such short notice? And I might add that Judge Leonie Reynolds is a daughter of Albert Reynolds, and Albert is our former Taoiseach. He is a man that is held in such high esteem and high regard in Longford West, in Longford Roscommon, which was his constituency at one time. We have a park in Longford Town named after him. And he was born in Rooskey in County Roscommon, which is, as the crow flies, is only a short distance from the McCann home. Albert passed away a number of years ago. I met him a few times, and I'm just wondering tonight what he would be thinking if he were to come back to the Ireland that he left. I wonder what he would have to say about the Ireland that we have on the 23rd of October 2020, where 3 elderly people are pegged out on the side of the road, out of their home in the middle of a lockdown. It behoves all of us to do something about this, to contact our TDs, and as Margaret said, to come together and press for mediation and to be kind to each other in this time. I will keep you updated tomorrow on any breaking news that I have, and until then, Bannock Day or Ifgulia, Iwa.